What's going on, guys? Brandon from Strategic Growth Experts here. So I want to talk to you about buying cars. This is an important video because you may buy a number of cars throughout your lifetime, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose thousands and thousands of dollars, whether it's a used car, a new car, some dude you met on Craigslist. Look, you don't want to get ripped off, right? And car salesmen, just like any other salesman, but here's the thing, car salesmen are not regulated, right? If you go and buy real estate, it's regulated, right? You can't lie about how much. I mean, there are such things as net listings and stuff like that, but you can't lie about, what the car cost, right? But car salesmen are notorious for getting a lot more money. They're money extractors. They will extract as much money as they can out of you if you don't know what you're doing. And if you do it right, if you know what you're doing, you can get a hell of a deal. You can get, you can crush it. Okay, now here's the thing. A car is not an asset, okay? Even if you use it to go to your job and it makes you some money that way, it's not an asset. It's just, it'll never be an asset. You're going to lose money on it every which way, and so it's very important to get a good deal and not to get completely screwed, because that's one of the easiest ways to get screwed. Buying buying a car, you can get screwed into thousands and thousands of dollars in negative equity that you could be paying on as debt for, the next 10 years, or, maybe not 10 years, but 5 years or whatever, however long you're paying for it. Now, it's really important when you buy a car, don't buy more than you need. I mean, unless you got money to throw away. If you're very clear that if you buy more than you need, you are throwing that money away, and that's fine. If you want a nice car, believe me, they don't really compare. I've driven Mercedes. Mercedes doesn't compare to a Toyota, so I understand. But make sure you can afford it, and make sure that you understand that you are throwing money away. Okay, you're throwing that money away. Ideally, you should, if you're going to throw money away on a car, it should be money that you made in an asset, or extra money that you made that you're happy to spend. Okay, now that's the first rule. The second rule, just get a simple car. Don't spend too much money on a car. Don't overspend. Okay, a car is not an asset; it's a liability. You could buy the nicest car. You could spend 50 grand and buy a Jeep or a Hummer or whatever the hell you want. But here's the deal. Okay, if you buy a car like that, and then somebody hits it, or somebody backs into it, or you hit somebody, and first of all, your insurance is going to be high enough, okay, because you're driving an expensive car, so you've already got higher insurance. Number two, your liability is going to go up because you could hit a smaller car. You're going to have higher liability if you get into an accident. And three, if someone hits you when you're uninsured, it's going to be a waste of money. You're going to have to pay your deductible. Your deductible is probably high because you're paying too much for insurance. And then, this car that you've invested a couple years of payments into and a lot of money into, you're going to have to start over anyways. Even if you get it fixed, it's not going to be the same. I mean, unless it's a minor hit, but... So that's the point. A car is an expendable liability. It's never anything more. I mean, unless you're trading classic cars, those can be investments. There's ways you can make cars to be an investment. But for most people, a car is a liability. It's expensive. It's not a fun payment. It's not fun to have payments on it. It's never fun. You shouldn't have a $500 car payment. Really, for any reason. I mean, there's really no reason for it. You really don't need, unless you need you have kids and you need a minivan, or you need a more expensive, a bigger vehicle. I understand, but also consider that your gas consumption, your gas mileage, those are all expenses that are going to go into your dollar per mile. So when you go into a dealer, understand, okay, they have a simple process. Number one, they want to get your keys. They're going to, oh yeah, we want your keys. We're going to go check your vehicle out and see what we can get you for it. Obviously, you want to do a Kelley Blue Book. Make sure you understand what your vehicle's realistically worth, so that you're not getting shafted there. A lot of times, now there's a common trick. A lot of times they'll take your keys, they'll go get your VIN number, and then or they'll give your keys to someone, and they'll say, oh, we're going to go get a valuation and go do an appraisal or whatever, and now you're stuck. Okay, once you give your keys up, you're stuck. They've got you. And so understand that what's going to happen next is they're going to find out what kind of car you like, and they're going to get you to go drive it, right? They're going to get you to test drive it. Again, they have your keys, so they're already preparing to sucker you into a deal, right? So this is standard. But so if you understand that, then, you know, number one, what you do is you don't give them your keys. You tell them you'll be glad to go out, take them out, let them get the information that they need to get, or give them the information that they need ahead of time. What they need is mileage, VIN number. Just have it written down and give it to them. Don't give them your keys, okay? Because they can waste hours and hours of your time. So that's another consideration. But primarily, when you're buying a car, understand that they're going to go negotiate with their boss in the back room. You know, they've got this little room where they go on there, and the guys are standing on the counter looking down at everyone and telling them what they can pay for the car, what they can do here, do this and that. Sometimes if you go in to buy a used car and they say they've got specials on a new car, sometimes you're going to get a better special, and it might make sense to buy a new car, because if you are the original owner and you buy a new car, and you'll have a longer warranty, you'll have a fuller warranty, and they'll often give you maintenance packages and service packages and stuff. You can negotiate those to be added on. You know, tell them, you know, I don't really want a new car because I want to avoid the liability, but maybe you guys can throw in a 2-year service package, you know, whatever. But when it comes to the price, you have to understand, number one, always look up the blue book of that car used in excellent condition with the mileage that you're getting, and understand what the liability value is, because they may be selling you a car that as soon as you drive it off the lot, it's worth 14 grand, but in paper they're trying to get you in at 18 or 19,000. Now on top of that, you're going to have gap insurance and window tint and all sorts of crap you don't need that they're going to try and throw in there to get extra fees. Now remember, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to come back and they're going to try and get you on a monthly payment. They're going to say, hey, does this payment work for you? Well, if you don't analyze the numbers behind that payment, you could be screwed out of thousands of dollars, right? They may come back and say, hey, can you do a $375 a month payment? And you might be like, hey, yeah, I can do that. That sounds great. But if you don't look at the numbers, you're probably getting screwed, like almost guaranteed that you're getting screwed, okay? So what you need to do is ask them, let them know that it sounds interesting, but you're hoping for a much lower payment, and you don't want to have too high of a rate, and you don't want to be paying on it for too long of a time, right? So you don't want a really long term. So ask them for a printout of the expenses, and then it's going to come with all sorts of, you know, fees and window tints and all accessories and all this bullshit. And then from there, you got to start asking them, first of all, you can work with the price. Second of all, you can work with all those add-ons. So number one, start working on getting those add-ons out of the way. Say, I don't need that. I'm not paying for that. You know, I'm not going to pay for that. So if you want to make a deal, I'm not going to pay for that. And let them know and don't back down, because they will eventually cave, because they need to get those numbers in. They need to sell cars. So, you know, negotiate till that's done, and then start working on your price. Okay, this car, it says if I drive this car off the lot, it's worth $15,000, but you're trying to sell it to me for 19. Okay, I'm not willing to pay that. I mean, I'm not willing to just throw money away. So, you know, what's the best number you can get? And believe me, it's going to take you 2 or 3 rounds of them going back and forth to actually get to a realistic best number. They're going to come back every time and tell you this is it, this is the best. Don't accept it. Don't sign anything. Their signature thing is bullshit anyways. It's not real. They're just like, oh, can you do this payment? We'll do the deal right now. Sign it right now. Okay, sign it and say yes. You know, whatever. Okay, what they want to do is they want to get you on the highest payment with the interest rate, and they don't want you to look. They don't want you to think about how much you're paying for the car. They just want you to think about your payment, right? And if you don't dig in and analyze, you're getting screwed. You have to dig in and analyze, make sure you know what you're paying for. You have to know what you're paying for, how much you're paying, how much the car is worth, and really get an idea of, you know, what is their spread? How much is there? Ask them what the inventory retail, you know, the inventory stock value is. Ask them what they're paying for the car. Find out what they're paying for the car. Sometimes they'll be willing to lose money on the car to make a deal because they get credit from their dealership. And that brings me to my next point is always buy from a reputable dealership. People are like, oh, don't go to the dealership. You know, they try and cut corners and buy a used car on Craigslist or go to some shady used car lot. Just stay away from those places, man. A lot of them are getting stuff from auction. They could be salvage title. I helped someone buy a car one time. She found it was a great deal. She thought it was a great deal. They got into it, and then we took it to a Nissan dealership because it was a Nissan, and they pulled the report, and they said, well, we don't even, like somebody went into the system and deleted 3 years of history, service history, everything. And I was like, well, yeah, that's obviously why this was $3,000-$4,000 cheaper listed on the car. And it's like, well, you don't know where the car's been. You know, what's really wrong with it, how many owners it has. You don't know that information. Just stay away from those places. I mean, you'll have a better time. You know, like you say, if you go to those places, you're going to have a bad time. Trust me. So go to a reputable dealership. Yeah, they're more expensive, but it's for a reason, because they're legitimate. And, you know, it seems expensive from the outside, but if you take my advice and you go in there and start chopping down the accessories and chopping into that retail number, and a lot of times they'll have specials, say, go at the end of the year, go in the last 2 months of the year and get that year's car. They're going to be just blasting those cars out. They're going to be wanting to they're going to want to dump them, because they've got, say, if you're in 2017, go right now, go last month, because they already have 2018s that they're going to try and sell. So you're already getting a discount there, and they're going to do whatever they can to make a deal to get rid of them, because their incentives are going to be gone next year, right? So try and minimize your payment, try and minimize your debt. You know, go with a couple grand down. You can buy a car with very little down, and that's fine as long as the numbers make sense. You know, so that's really the long and short of it. So a lot of it comes down to negotiation. Believe me, this, if you got a good salesperson, they're going to pressure you. They're going to, you know, try and get you to sign, get you to commit. And that's okay, but just don't do it until you are clear on the numbers. Understand what you're paying for, what the breakdown is, what all the costs are, and tell them, you know, you're not willing to make a deal unless you know exactly what the cost is and what the accessories and all these add-ons are. You know, most of the time they'll get rid of all that stuff. They'll just take all that stuff off. But initially, they're going to come back with an offer with thousands and thousands of dollars of stuff that you don't need. And unless you actually negotiate, you're getting screwed. That's how they work. So I hope you take my advice. Let me know, you know, comment below with your experiences in the past where you uncovered some of this stuff and some of the workings of the car dealerships, or comment below with your new experience where you've taken this advice into consideration, and let me know how much money you saved, because I guarantee you it's a few $1,000s. Have a good day, guys.